Hello and welcome to another episode of the Symphonic podcast. My name is Bernardo Miethe.
And I'm Andrew Owen.
Hey! Changing it up. Nice.
Doing what I can.
There you go. So Andrew, we have now 31 subscribers.
This is good.
Yeah, we doubled our subscribers in basically a week. That was great.
Not too shabby. Word of mouth is the only way this happens.
I agree with that. So I guess all our friends are listening now. We appreciate the support, of course. And well, if you have any time and if you can, rate us on iTunes, that would be great because that would help with visibility and that will help our podcast grow some more if you can. All right, so today we're going to talk about Alberto. I can't even do my own language.
If you want to try Spanish,
okay, let me.
It's a tough language, I know.
Let's switch back. Okay, I know this language, I promise. Today we're gonna talk about Alberto Ginastera or Ginastera. And he was born in April of 1916 and he died in June of 1983. And he was a composer from Argentina and he's considered one of the most important conductors of 20th century classical composers in all of the Americas.
Sure. Ginastera, there's a lot of controversy in how to pronounce his name, but we'll get to that in a second. Ginastera was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, to a Catalan father and an Italian mother. During the last few years of his life, he did prefer to have his name pronounced with the Catalan pronunciation, with the soft J sound, as in George. So Ginastera, rather than the Spanish H sound, the sound. Ginastera. In fact, this would be the local Argentine pronunciation of his name if it were spelled Y Ginastera or double L Ginastera. But yeah, a lot of people, when we pronounce the name, we say Ginastera because we assume he's a Spanish speaker, he's from Argentina, but his father was Catalan. That's his name, Ginastera.
So he liked actually Ginastera later. And I mean, in my country, we say Ginastera. And I just found out that he preferred Ginastera. So that's kind of strange. I mean, that's very interesting.
You spend whole lives, we can perform his entire corpus without even knowing how he preferred to have his name pronounced.
So like we said, he is among the leading composers of 20th century music, especially in South America. One of his characteristics is the successful blending of indigenous music with the more rigorous elements of European art music. His career spans over half a century, and he would eventually leave the folk style to write more contemporary styles, even adopting the dodecaphonic 12-tone system in his later scores. But of course, I mean, not surprisingly, those works are not performed much. People prefer the earlier folkloric music, which is, that's what he's most known for.
Sure. I mean, I played piano a lot before I was a voice major in undergrad, and I played lots of Ginastera's piano music, which is very folklore. I mean, it's very, very folk song-ish, but like danzas criollas, those kinds of pieces that are designed to indicate a particular thing. But Ginastera studied at the Conservatory in Buenos Aires, graduating in 1938. As a young professor, he taught at the Liceo Militar General San Martín. After a visit to the United States in 1945 to 47, where he studied with Aaron Copland at Tanglewood, he returned to Buenos Aires and co-founded the League of Composers, which I know sounds like a group of people who are trying to defeat some superheroes
the League
whose lair is underneath the water lagoon. But no, this is in fact a league of composers that Ginastera co-founded in Buenos Aires. And of course he also held a number of teaching posts. He was known around the area for his students.
Yeah. He moved back to the United States in 1968. He only stayed here for 2 years, but then in 1970 he went to Europe and he eventually died in Geneva, Switzerland, at the age of 67. And he was buried in the Cimetière des Rois.
Cimetière des Rois.
Des Rois. There.
Cemetery of Kings, I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Ages.
And amongst his most notable students, we have, of course, Piazzolla, who's a big name, which he studied with him in 1941. We also have Alcides Lanza. We have Waldo de los Rios, and we have Jacqueline Nova, and of course Rafaela Ponte Lede. I mean, but of course, Piazzolla is the big name here.
I think out of all those, Piazzolla's pretty much the only one I know.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
But yeah, Piazzolla's the tango king. Everyone knows him for his tango compositions.
Oh, yeah.
That's Ginastera is one of his most notable students. So Ginastera grouped his own music into three periods. The first period, from 1934 to 48, was objective nationalism. The next period was subjective nationalism, and then his last period, starting in 58 and lasting until 83, was neo-expressionism. Among other distinguishing features, these periods vary in their use of traditional Argentine musical elements, as objective nationalistic works often integrate Argentine folk themes in a straightforward fashion, while works in the later periods incorporate traditional elements in an increasingly abstract kind of way. More and more, I guess, artsy rather than just pure folky. So much of Ginastera's works were inspired by the Gauchesco tradition. This tradition holds that the gaucho, or landless native horseman of the plains, is a symbol of Argentina. Now, of course, we all know the word gaucho as being a Portuguese term for the people who serve you the meat at Texas de Brazil.
Oh, really? I don't go there because, I'm a vegetarian.
Well, they've got a great salad.
Sure. And what I find interesting about Ginastera is that he grouped his own periods. Usually composers don't do that. They let musicologists after they're dead to group them. Instead, Ginastera's grouped his own periods.
Just trying to make our lives easier, which is very nice of him.
The progressive rock group Emerson, Lake and Palmer brought Ginastera attention outside of modern classical music circles when they adapted the fourth movement of his first piano concerto and recorded it on their popular album Brain Salad Surgery under the title Toccata. They recorded the piece not only with Ginastera's permission, but with his endorsement. In 1973, when they were recording the album, Keith Emerson met with Ginastera at his home in Switzerland and played a recording of his arrangement for him. Ginastera is reported to have said "diabolico." Emerson misunderstood Ginastera's meaning. Ginastera spoke almost no English and meant that their interpretation was frightening, which had been his intent when he wrote it. Emerson, being British, took it to mean awful. Emerson was so upset that he was prepared to scrap the piece until Ginastera's wife intervened, saying that he actually approved of the piece, that he liked it. Ginastera later said, "You have captured the essence of my music, and no one's ever done that before."
Progressive rock, man.
This experience is detailed in the recordings notes of the album Brain Salad Surgery. You can read more there. Emerson would later go on to release an adaptation of one of the pieces from Ginastera's Suite de Danzas Criollas, entitled Creole Dance. But Toccata also gained fame as the theme to the New England cult TV show Creature Double Feature. And also Italian neoclassical electric guitarist Alex Massi has also recorded an adaptation of Toccata, one strongly based on the ELP version rather than the original orchestral piece. I listened to this song today. It's 7 minutes and it's weird. It's very, very strange and freaky.
It's all still there, right? Like, all of it from Ginastera. No? It's just sort of surprising. It's sort of a, I don't know, free interpretation.
Yeah.
I need to hear it myself. I haven't done that. His Cantata para America Mágica in 1960 for dramatic soprano and 53 percussion instruments. What could go wrong? Was based on an ancient pre-Columbian legend. It was based on several legends. Its West Coast premiere was performed by the Los Angeles Percussion Ensemble under André Temianka and William Kraft at UCLA in 1963. A portion of Ginastera's Piano Sonata No. 1 is performed in the movie The Competition, and the piece is included in the movie soundtrack. So his work has really flung far out of classical music circles. It has that progressive rock band. It's got all of these theatrical
incidental film.
All these things, yeah. So all in all, he's written several unique works. He wrote 3 operas, he wrote 2 ballets, 10 orchestral pieces, 6 concertos, 12 piano pieces, 2 organ pieces, 12 vocal and choral works, and 11 instrumental works, chamber and solo, and 17 works of incidental music, film music. Remember, you and I sang his...
Lamentations of Jeremiah.
Yeah, Lamentaciones de Jeremiah, or something like that.
Yeah.
It was really,
really cool.
Really neat piece.
Very great piece. Yeah, I mean, out of all those works, I've only done two. I performed the whole Estancia, but at the suite. I got to play the first flute, which has a great solo in the second movement, and I did the Lamentations, which I really enjoyed too. So we're going to talk about his piece, the Four Dances from La Estancia, which is actually a suite taken from a ballet. It has four movements. The first movement is called Los Trabajadores Agrícolas, which means the land workers. The second movement, Danza del Trigo, which is the wheat dance. The third movement, Los Peones de Hacienda, which means the cattlemen. And the fourth movement is called Danza Final Malambo, which is final dance Malambo. Malambo is just a dance. So an estancia is a large cattle ranch on the Pampas in Argentina. And Alberto Ginastera envisioned his ballet as a depiction of the busy activities on an estancia from one dawn to the next. The story of the ballet is built around a love triangle. A city boy meets a beautiful ranch girl and is entranced. She, however, considers him a weakling in comparison to the manly gauchos, the horsemen, who work on her father's estancia. The city boy follows her to the ranch, determined to win her heart away from the gauchos. The ballet is a little over 30 minutes in length, and the suite is 13 minutes. It's a fast. It's not that long, but I mean, it has meat.
Yeah, 13 minutes. It's probably the shortest piece that we've looked at on this podcast so far. I mean, we tend to look at larger works. This is, if you listen to this, you can finish it pretty quickly.
I think that if you have something to say, I mean, the ballet, I mean, in itself, this music repeats a lot. So, I mean, if you wanted to make it longer, I think it would be boring. I think it's a good length. Right. It's exactly the perfect length
for what he's doing.
Yeah.
So Ginastera wrote this ballet very early in his career, barely 3 years after his graduation from the National Conservatory of Buenos Aires. Lincoln Kirstein, who was then the director of the American Ballet Caravan, which was traveling in South America, heard Ginastera's graduation piece, which was his Opus 5 work for choir. It's a setting of Psalm 150, praise the Lord with all these instruments.
Praise.
Kirstein was so impressed that he commissioned a ballet for his company to perform the following year. Estancia was the happy result.
So during these early years, Ginastera was fascinated with Argentinian folk song, like we said before. And Estancia's score is filled with near quotes of actual folk tunes. South American folk music is marked by great rhythm and energy created by shift from one type of triple meter to another. For instance, going from 3/4 to 6/8 in quick succession. That's you're going from 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's I mean, you hear that a lot in all of South America. Venezuela is filled with that kind of rhythm in folk music. So this characteristic rhythm, originally imported from Europe by the 16th century conquistadors, give the music a strong sense of location too.
Sure. Well, national identity is also established by the story itself, featuring the guitar-carrying gaucho, an enduring, idealized national emblem in Argentina, like Canada. Most of the chords and textures in Estancia imitate the open tunings of the guitar strings and the characteristic ways a gaucho's guitar is played. So you hear lots of whenever you strum a guitar without pressing anything down, you get those open fourths. We hear harmonies based on thirds and exotic mixtures of more than one traditional tonality occurring at the same time. This man liked to mess with harmonic language. It was fun. He liked to put things together. In the first movement, Los Trabajadores Agrícolas, not the placid piece one might expect from the title, it's a dark, driving dance inspired by the Malambo, the country dance that appears in full force in the suite's finale. The brass carry the imposing, propulsive first part of this piece, but it's the woodwinds that take responsibility for the rhythmically tricky, jagged, more subdued, yet somewhat menacing middle section. So Ginastera here is using a huge, colorful orchestra with a large and varied percussion section to paint the burly, bustling life of a land worker. Here the shifting triple rhythms are wild and fierce, musically suggesting the machismo of the estancia's workers and the rough and tumble nature of their everyday work life.
Yeah.
Salt of the earth stuff happening.
Yeah. How do you call it when you have the
blister?
Blister. Yeah, it's blister music. Not it's over there. It's so pretty. No. It's you're working all day.
Work gloves, not formal gloves.
Exactly. So the second movement, the Danza del Trigo or wheat dance, is a lyrical interlude, a swaying piece evoking criollo or Argentine folk, not to be confused with North American Creole song. The flute carries the opening melody over a limping staccato wrong note accompaniment. It's replaced by a solo violin in the repeat, which follows a central section in which the strings present a broad soaring melody. This movement displays a sensuous use of brilliant orchestration. This movement is calm, lyrical, and almost impressionistic because of the transparent way Ginastera combines the individual colors of each orchestral sound. It eloquently suggests the joy of blossoming intimacy in a scene of natural beauty. This movement is very dreamlike, especially in the way it ends. To me, it sounds like a 1/9 chord. It's very ethereal, and I mean, like I said, he's not using the whole orchestra here. He's just using like, woodwinds over here, strings over here, then maybe a full string section. He's being conservative in the way he's using the color, which makes it beautiful. Of course, it's original.
Sure. So filling the role of the scherzo, the movement in a traditional four movement or instrumental work like that, is Los Peones de Hacienda. My Spanish is abysmal.
That's pretty good.
With its driving asymmetrical rhythm, brass-dominated proclamations, and arresting, though brief, timpani solos. The third movement emphasizes rhythm once again, but rhythm that is less predictable, more asymmetrical. The brass and percussion sections are prominent. The main theme is introduced by the French horns playing in unison. The last few moments of this movement are dominated by an extended timpani solo in a competitive conversation with the low brass section, playing fragments of the original theme. If this is the first time you're hearing this piece, you're going to want to just turn the volume down so you don't make your neighbors angry. It's just, it's very lots and lots of timpani. Finally, the timpani and brass come together and restate the entire theme to end the movement in a triumphant unity.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So the last movement, the Malambo, the Malambo is a quick and vigorous Argentine folk dance in which men compete to demonstrate the agility and machismo. The dance itself is a series of justas, or competitive, anything you can do, I can do better moments. That's how the piece works. The winner is the last man to remain standing. In the final movement of the suite, Ginastera uses the Malambo format to show the city man competing with the gauchos for the heart of the ranch girl. The movement begins with high piccolo flutterings when the guitar, like strum of the piccolo line, struggles with the underlying accompaniment, and one meter is set against another. The same thing repeats over and over, is an ostinato, culminating with a breathless, frenzied, wickedly fast trumpet solo. Each time the trumpet theme is heard, the accompanying music is, how do you say that?
The
accompanying music. Oh man, the accompanying music is slightly varied. So each time the trumpet theme is heard, the accompanying music is slightly varied, so that the web of sound becomes increasingly more complex. You can say that this movement is divided in two main sections. The first section uses the range tick-tock of the beginning, which includes transition and a nervous dance melody on the strings, and which later go to the brass. And the second half is a driving percussion toccata, sometimes shrill but always compelling through its propulsive perpetual motion. The beginning, the piccolo part is very hard. If you go audition in a South American orchestra and you play piccolo, that's going to be for sure in the audition.
Good to know. Throughout this dance, you can listen for characteristic sounds of nature. A masterful thumb roll on the tambourine mimics an insistent cicada.
Cicada.
Cicada! This language is hard. This is our first Spanglish podcast. We're doing our best here.
Straight.
Okay, we'll try it one more time. Throughout this dance, you can listen for characteristic sounds of nature. A masterful thumb roll, the tambourine mimics an insistent cicada. The entire horn section interjects a flurry of elephant peals. elephant trumpeting. The flutes interrupt the melody with an unmistakable twitter of birds. Ginastera finished his ballet Estancia on time in 1942, but Kirstein's group had disbanded. The composer had to wait until 1952 to see this work staged as a ballet. Meanwhile, to save the music from extinction, Ginastera extracted this suite from the ballet, creating an invigorating orchestral piece that has won its own popularity.
Yeah, this piece is super popular, especially in South America. I mean, I've played it 3 times in my life, and it's very popular. I mean, at least in Venezuela, this is heard throughout the country a lot. It's a very popular piece. I mean, because it's really fun.
It's
And
catchy.
Yeah, it's hard, but I mean, it's only 12 minutes. So even youth orchestras, they put hard work into it. It's 12 minutes, and it's good to go. And well, I mean, it's a short piece, so it's a short podcast, of course, as well.
Yes.
It's we've reached the end of our podcast. Like always, thank you for listening. If you have any questions or concerns or anything that you want to tell us, email us at symphonicpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for subscribing to our podcast. We really appreciate the numbers that we're getting, and we hope it keeps growing. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Thank you for
Thanks
listening.
Thanks for listening.